Ghost Cult Magazine welcomes in the great singer Todd La Torre. How are you doing today, man?
Doing pretty good. It's sunny. It's getting hot out here in Florida. The pollen is like raining. It's but things are good. Zeus, our producer for Queensrÿche, I picked him up yesterday. Michael comes in today for some more songwriting for the next Queensrÿche record. So yeah, you know, just
Amazing.
starting my day and talking to you.
I appreciate it, man. That's amazing. I know Zeus a long time. He used to live in the Massachusetts area,
He
and
still does.
yeah, I know he's the fixture there. He's the
Yeah,
guy,
yeah.
and so stoked to hear that new Queensryche is on the way. However, before we can talk about that,
Yeah, yeah.
we have to talk about "Rejoice in the Suffering," your recently released awesome solo album. Congratulations, first of all. This album's a chart-topping album, which I'm sure you weren't planning on. It's not a thing you make records to do, to be,
Right.
obviously you want to sell records and
Sure.
charts are important in the industry, but it's really cool to, I think, for you at this stage, for your solo work to get recognized as much as your stuff in Queensryche.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, when the first week sales came out, the numbers were killer. The charting, it's nice to have been like, wow, I charted on Billboard in 5 or 6 areas under my own name, and not just with Queensryche. So it's really cool that I'm kind of making a name for myself with this, establishing myself uh, separated from that, which is you know yeah, people seem to dig it. I think it's making a little buzz, and maybe it'll be hailed as a classic metal album one day. Who knows?
It's certainly a classic for right now, man. It is a killer record. And right before we started this interview, we briefly chatted about that idea. It is a super heavy record. It's heavier than most Queensryche records. Obviously, the verdict was badass. I'm not taking anything away from it. I
Sure.
love that record. But yeah, what a heavy, very, in your face record, except for a couple of tracks, which really shows off your talent.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff that I like to write, a lot of it is what you hear on this record. And with Craig Blackwell, who played the guitars on this and bass and whatnot, we co-wrote everything together. It's it's I can definitely write much darker and heavier, but this is like, it's not depressing heavy. It's like uplifting, powerful, fun metal songs that I loved hearing growing up. And so it was kind of a let's get back to our roots and the elements of different things about metal that we love. And we wanted to do a record like that. So it's just kind of stuff we love and we write. That's how we write together. Um, so yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Awesome, man. In addition to, like you said, some thrashier stuff, I definitely got like the very positive, uplifting, major key, early Ozzy, mid-era leather and studs, priest era kind of, vibe on this like very energetic, like you said, very, this uplifting stuff, man. It's really, really super cool. You don't hear a lot of anymore, actually.
That's something that a lot of people have been saying is, you know, I don't hear music like this being put out today. And when I hear that, I'm like, okay, does it sound really dated? Does it sound, but there's just, but I go on all the other labels, YouTube channels, and I click videos to see what's coming out like maybe 3 times a week. So I'm very up to speed on all the releases that are coming out. And in all fairness, I don't hear anything that sounds like this record. You might hear some killer bands and thrashy and killer riffs, and but you're not really hearing a lot of singing. So when you do hear singing, it's more like power metal, and it definitely has more of that Euro metal sound, more in the power metal style, or it's really symphonic, or it's really kind of older 80s sounding stuff that's kind of becoming popular again with some labels. But um, yeah, I think that it's definitely the stuff that I loved. It was I loved that First Fight record. I like Cowboys from Hell with the groove. And so this record has a lot of groove. And that's something that I didn't want just all fast stuff. I wanted to have that groove where the guitar riffs really stand out and they poke, and makes you want to do this and groove, so that was definitely something that we knew that we loved, and that we wanted this record to have that.
Nice. Just hearing you say that, I feel like I need the Todd La Torre commentary track for this album, because I'm getting pumped up again, like I was just listening to it earlier and all
Right
this
on.
weekend. But awesome, man. And of course, naturally, also being a drummer, groove is going to be part of what you do.
Totally.
So unique. There's not want to say few singing drummers, but few great singing drummers in history, and so you're definitely fall into that class.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, of course, man. Clearly that's kind of like where some of that obviously comes from. That you're like so in tune to the pocket and rhythms, that I think it
Yeah.
probably adds that
Yeah, I
punch.
mean, even like in the band, I'm always air drumming because that's just how I feel things. It's the pocket, it's the groove. It's always, the drums are like always there in my head, and so that to me is like, it's like I'll hear music that I don't like, and people will be like, "Oh, it's about the beat," and I'm like, "Okay, well, if that's true." Like a lot of hip hop, they don't really care what they're saying. They like that groove, where this any kind of groove like that. It's fun. It does something inside you that makes you want to just do that. And then I like the heavy stuff that makes you want to go into a pit and thrash around. So um, yeah, we were kind of mindful of that, but that's the stuff that Craig and I like to write and groove on. So you know, I think that maybe resonates with people too. They like the groove.
Nice. And I think the same thing can be said, like maybe in extreme metal, people don't really, maybe the lyrics are less important no matter what they're talking about. And people just love those riffs and they love beats and they love
Yeah,
grooves. And then they hear some words that make
yeah,
them, think a little maybe. Um, but yeah, man,
yeah.
Rejoice, this is such a killer record for you. Of course, vocally, it's your record. So that's going to be the centerpiece, your lyrics, your vocals.
Right.
And there's so many great songs, the title track, Vex, Crossroads, just to name a few, where your voice is just all over the map in the best possible way. And your highs are, there's a couple where you just kill it right from the first note, where you're just like in that upper range.
Yeah.
Like obviously you work all the time at your craft because you're making music all the time, I imagine. So, working in, walking into this record, like, did you want to like sort of achieve certain things vocally? Did you like, I want to do
Yeah.
something I didn't do on the Verdict?
Well, I mean, there's a ton of things that I just wouldn't be appropriate for Queensryche, and so I can't force those things, and the music doesn't make me feel like I want to do the stuff that I did on my record. Queensryche is a totally different thing, but on this it was like, like on the song Hellbound and Down, there's a walls of blood are burning, there's a too late to turn back now. That's kind of a, I wouldn't do that on a Queensryche thing. Or when I say, how do you end up here? How does it make you? That was kind of like a Tom Araya. I heard that groove, and I was like, okay, I'm hearing like Tom Araya would vocalize here. He wouldn't sing the part. This is like a shouting, wild, crazy vocalization. Let me do that. This is like what I feel for this, or Vanguards of the Dawn Wall. I'm hearing like, that Overkill, Bobby Blitz kind of shrill, open the gates, open the pathways, where it's more witchy and, has that evil tone to it, like, just that thrashy sound that I like. So I just really just said, well, this song makes me feel like singing this, and this is what I'm going to do. I don't care if it's totally different from the other song. That's the whole point. Is I said, I'm just going to do what I want to do, whether somebody likes it or doesn't like it. That's not the point. The point is I want to express all the things that I want to express. And interestingly enough, I feel, and even if, I mean, people would think maybe, well, I'm biased, but when I listen to the record as a whole thing, especially songs 1 through 10, I don't feel like it doesn't all belong. I feel like, yeah, there's a ton of different vocal things happening, but it doesn't sound like a collage of songs from different bands or artists that are featured on one record. It sounds like one continuous thing, you know, but you would have that in Pink Floyd. You know, you would have Gilmore sing something, and then you would have, you know, this other whole different phrasing happening, you know. So it's like, okay, well, maybe there's two singers. Some people have said, oh, I read a review the other day, and the guy said, I don't know if Todd's really doing the gutturals on One by One. Maybe he's only doing the clean parts, and that Craig was maybe doing it. I was like, no, dude, like I'm doing the only thing that Craig did on the record that I didn't do was on Set It Off. There's a, hey, there's like a, do they know? Hey, there's a all these hays that are stacked. Craig, I said, why don't you do those? And then there's a like a something like that. Craig did that. All the other vocals on the record are 100% me, and yeah, it was fun to be able to do stuff just whatever I felt on the record, and I think that it makes me feel less inclined to want to push some of that on Queensrÿche, like, oh, you know, I want to do something like this, and maybe it's gritty, and you know, then people would be like, oh, that's, you know, now he's trying to do, you know, he's trying to turn that into his thing, which is never what I would do. So that's the benefit of the outlet of my record. People can hear a whole nother side of what I can do without, you know, compromising the integrity and the sound of Queensrÿche.
Of course, man. You have been a wonderful steward and guardian of the Queensrÿche
I
sound.
try.
I'm so thankful.
I try my best, you know, and
Yeah.
uh,
I'll say this because I did this already with Whip a couple of years ago in New York City. I was like, dude, I go so far back to Queensrÿche that the verdict is so to me in line with the best material ever. So I'm
wow,
just really proud of you guys and you.
that's awesome.
And on the other hand, it's awesome. Critics, we don't know everything for real. And a lot of, you know, they some, what is the cliche? Some, you know, those that can do and those that can't write. The commentary, right? They critique. So
Sure.
you definitely, yeah, I like that you if you fool the reviewer, good, because you gave them something they weren't expecting. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't quite see it. I wanted to talk also about lyrics because I love some of the lyrics on here. You know, they're really strong, and I wonder if it's something you just work on all the time. Are you always writing or, you know, coming up with lyrics and sort of
No,
holding them for later? Or
no. I mean, I might think of a cool line or a song title or something, and maybe I'll write that in a Word document on my computer. But otherwise, like I usually don't write lyrics until I'm till I hear music. Sometimes I will, but for the most part, like I want to have the music make me feel something, and then I'll write based on how that music makes me feel. Yeah. So
right
that's
on.
kind of what I did on this record. You know, I'd hear something, and I'd say, okay, what do I want to write about? I mean, I'll pick a topic, and then I will phrase things and write lyrics that go with that music and how it makes me feel, and then I can express it that way. But usually it's the music first.
And what about melodies? The same thing? Do you ever just get a melody pop in your head and, oh, I better record that?
Yeah, I've got stuff on my cell phone where I'll go chorus melody idea, and then I'll hum it in my phone, and then I've got like a ton of those that are just 01, 02, 03, 04, or whatever, and then or I'll say like guitar riff, and I'll do that. So I do have like stuff on my phone. If I get, you know, it usually happens like really late at night when I'm laying in bed, and something will just come into my phone's always on my nightstand next to me, and I'll open it up and I'll go to the voice recorder and I'll say that thing. And then luckily I do that because the next day I'll be like, I remember I had, but I have no idea. And then I'll open that, and I'll even be like, you know, tempo, you know, and then I'll do like a click track or a drum groove to set it up so I know how it would be. So I'll do that sometimes, you know, random things will come into my head, and I'll record that or jot it down. But usually inspired by the music and how I feel at that moment. What does that music make me feel like? Is it melancholic? Is it aggressive? Is it sinister? Is it, I don't know.
I got you. There's definitely a few sad and melancholy type jams on here that are, a
Sure.
little more ballad territory. Not soft. Calm down, everybody.
Sure.
Ballad used to be a dirty word. I don't know why. Some of the best songs ever in the world are ballads, like in history. So I don't know why people get
Yeah,
uptight about them. And you need that variety. You need to take listeners on a
absolutely.
journey.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can rage like 10 out of 10
It gets
tracks.
boring.
Totally.
Yeah, I want something that takes, has some peaks and valleys. And, I've always loved moody, dark, slow stuff. Um, I don't usually write like happy songs. Everything I write is more, and the usually topics that are, people try to shy away from. I don't want to go there. Why not? You know? And so, but usually if I'll talk about something that's controversial or dark or whatever, usually, and I don't know why I do it, I don't even think to do it, but when I go back and analyze, a lot of it'll like start at this really shitty place, and then it's like finding your way out of this problem, like, you know so a lot of the stuff will usually transition into like a better place. It starts out dark, and then you're trying to find the light out of this dark place.
Right on. Well, I mean, that also lends itself to the fact that you are a naturally great storyteller, whether it's your music or someone else's. And I think that's something you've had sort of going for you your entire career, that is not just great voice, but you're able to convey things. Not everybody can do it. You can have a lot of talent and then not be able to tell a story. And I think I think it comes through in your performing. I think it comes through on this album, man.
I was just talking with the guy that actually created the TLT part, not the Aerobros, but the actual TLT logo. He's become one of my best friends over the years. And we were talking the other day, and I said, yeah, you know, I heard like, oh, check this song out from this band or check that out. And I'm like, this guy's a badass singer, better than I am technically. I said, but I heard words that I wasn't sold on the delivery. And even though it could be sung so well, but there's certain things where it's like when I was in Crimson Glory, it was like, okay, listen to Midnight. Every word had something. And, you know, um, if you're gonna say the word evil, it should sound evil. If you're gonna say the word cut, it shouldn't be like, and I cut you, like it should be cut. Like you should make the word be what it is, like emphasize the word. And so many great singers, they don't do that. And it's like, man, you gotta make every word, every line count. And to me, that's better than technical proficiency and knowing all these scales and having a great range and all this other crap. To me, I think that's like so secondary. It's almost bullshit. I'd rather just hear passion and real emphasis. If you listen to Overkill, like when that guy sings words, it's like the words and the delivery in every word is like fierce. And to me, that's just what separates the people that I love from the people that I respect and think they're great technically, but they didn't sell me the lyric, the words. It's like having a shredder from hell. It's like, you know what? That's great, but just bend one really pretty note and move me with that one note. And that's what it's all about, is the passion and the emotion. Otherwise, the rest, it's just a waste of time if you're not doing that. So that's one thing. I may not be the best singer for sure, but I try to put in passion and delivery on every line. It needs to count. And I think that's the difference.
I dig it, man. And once again, shout out to Bobby Blitz. The guy's like
Yeah,
a human rubber band vocally.
he's
Um,
awesome.
and he really can do anything. I don't know if people heard that covers project he has that he did last year. The guy can sing anything.
Oh,
Uh,
I didn't hear that.
oh, yeah. BPMD. It's him, Portnoy, Demel and Mark Mengi have their own separate
Oh,
covers band.
oh, that's the guys that do the Metal Allegiance.
Yeah, and plus Phil from
Right.
Violence. So yeah, it's killer, and it's all covers and
Okay,
Blitz and
I'll have to
Blitz.
dig into that.
Yeah, yeah, and I'll say, just speaking of covers, I like that. And again, I love cover songs, but and you can sing any cover song you want to. I'm sure you
Mm.
can put your own stamp on it. But I love that this album really stands alone. It's great material. There's no skippable tracks. It's all, even the bonus track was awesome. I was like, why is this a bonus track? This is amazing. Oh my gosh.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks. I mean, the bonus tracks to us were like, they're cool, but I don't know. I don't think they're as solid as the main 10. We'll see. Set It Off is pretty cool. You know, One by One is one of my favorites. Um, you know, Fractured is probably my least favorite of all of them. It's a little too A B. I don't know. The solo in it's great. Craig did a killer job on that, but um, you know, some people really like it. For me, it was like, okay, the real main record is 1 through 10. It ends at Apology. Here's some extra goodies. But One by One had to go on the record for me because I wanted to do that. So, um, yeah, I mean, hopefully people dig it, and you know, there's not like skippable stuff. It like catches you, and the guitars are like perfect. They're exactly how we wanted them. The Mesa Boogie, the crunch is like right in your face. It's fucking tough, and you know, his riffs are so good. Like we didn't want him to get buried with like a tone that didn't really fit that attitude, or too many layered guitars where shit's buried. Like we wanted it to be like just clean and raw and in your face, and it's definitely that.
I agree, man. It's amazing. I hope everybody gets to hear this thing now that it's out, and you did a fantastic job with it. Just kind of as a final thought, and I'm super stoked to hear that you and the rest of the Queensrÿche guys are
Yeah.
starting to work on that. I hope maybe we'll get a new record next year. That would be amazing. Obviously, this has been a banana balls time in the world, and you have been probably off the road, I'm sure, longer than you had imagined.
Yeah.
And certainly, I hope you and the band and all your family and friends are well and in one piece. This has been just such a hard time, and Florida's been particularly hard hit in this. But as a singer, you are right up in front of people. So of course, I want to ask the question, as a performer, which is a huge part of your life, when will you feel comfortable and ready to get out in front of people again? You know, in a theater, in a outdoors, at a festival.
That's a really good question because, you know, we've had shows booked, and it's like, okay, this outdoor? How far away? Are they mandating masks? If they say, well, masks are, you know, recommended, for me, that I don't like that at all. Like, you know, I mean, until like I think we can reach herd immunity where it's like legit safe that way, and I've had my vaccine, and you know, I think I'll feel fairly comfortable then. Right now, I mean, until we can all get that achieved, there are shows on the books, and it makes me really really nervous. I don't like it, but at the same time, you know, we haven't worked in a year, and you know, we were the first industry to close. Like I see all these dumbasses around here that cry about the mask and it's infringing on their rights and all this stupid stuff. It's so ignorant. And I'm thinking, yeah, but motherfucker, you work. You have a job right now.
Mm.
I don't. So if you can cry about it, but you're still earning a paycheck every week. You're still doing your business. Even if it's, oh, I work from home now. Okay, but you're still working. We're not working where we earn an income on touring and the stuff that we do. Yeah, we're working as far as songwriting, but you know, you're not getting paid to sit home and write lyrics. You're not getting paid. That doesn't come until way down the road, you know? I mean, you know, so it's gonna be a while before any of us feel comfortable, I think. And you know, there's some people that, you know, I think people will be super stoked just to go to a show, and like you could play Mary Had a Little Lamb and people would probably be happy just to be out with their friends and seeing a stage and hearing music again. But for us, this is our job. This isn't like we're going to go out with our friends and have a good time tonight. This is no, we going to do this every night on tour. And so, man, you know, if one of us gets sick, that shuts a whole tour down. You quarantine. If I get sick and I have to quarantine, or I'm positive or whatever, like that's a wrap. That tour's done. It's done. And so, you know, I'm not a guy that really hangs out much anyway. So, I mean, we will definitely be more isolated, not accessible, no after show, probably no meet and greets. We get on stage, we play, and that's it. So it's going to be a while, unfortunately, but I don't feel comfortable at all right now.
Understood, and I appreciate you sharing. And your message has been strong about this the entire way, and I'm really thankful that artists like you have been, you know, speaking up about that and just being frank about it, because a lot of people.
I've had people say, "I'm not buying anything from him. He's a fucking commie libtard socialist," and I'm like, "Well, you got to pick one. Number one, number two, you don't even know what you're talking about, and you know, look, the reality is what it is, and." I'm not going to be silent about if somebody asks me my views on the mask or vaccines or whatever. I mean, vaccines work. That's why we don't have polio here anymore. People say, "Oh, but you can get a flu shot and still get sick." Yeah, well, you can die still wearing a seatbelt, but more lives are saved wearing a seatbelt than you know, people that die wearing a seatbelt. So I look at things from a very empirical, scientific perspective. No feelings are involved. It's purely pragmatic. And it's if everybody would just be sensible and not selfish, we would probably be a lot further along now, but it is what it is. And I understand people have to work. I'm not against a band, like they got to play a show live. Like I get it. Like I totally understand it. I respect it too. But this was not talking about that. This was asking, do I feel comfortable? I don't feel comfortable, but I would still do it. If the band said we have a gig tomorrow, I would go do the gig, but I would be nervous.
Fair enough. And thank you. And also on the plus side, I do feel like we are making finally some positive progress.
I do too.
We're going to get it back. And I want to hear Rejoice in the Suffering tracks live. I don't know if you had plans to tour, but I hope you will.
Yeah, someday. I mean, once touring opens up, Queensrÿche will be, that's what we'll do. But if there's times where it's like, hey, you know, I'm able to go do a handful of shows or something, then I think it would be a lot of fun to play live. And by the time that ever would happen, the people that would come to see it would know the songs. So it would be just 10 times cooler than, hey, I'm doing you know, like when a band tours on a record and they've only heard the 2 or 3 singles that have come out. Now you're playing some new stuff on the tour and they're just kind of like this because they haven't learned it yet. So I think there's a benefit to a record having already been out for a while and they learn it. And then when you play it, they can sing along because they know it. So I think that's a perspective that a lot of people don't think about. They just say, oh, I want to tour right when it drops. Yeah, but nobody knows it. Let it simmer and sink in and let them dig it. And then they'll be singing those words too, just like the old stuff that they know. So I think it would be a ton of fun to play live and get in front of an audience again and like do some of this heavier stuff. It would be fun.
Indeed. I'm looking forward to it. I will be right there when it's safe in the front. I promise.
Thanks.
Rejoice in the Suffering's out now, man, on Rat Pack Records. Thank you so much for hanging out with Ghost Cult, Todd. I appreciate you, man. Be safe. My best to the guys in Zeus, and we'll see you hopefully on stage soon where you belong.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for the kind words and the interest and helping to promote the record and everything. And I hope to see you in the near future for sure.
Right on, man. Thanks again. Have a great day.